But if you're my builder, remodeler, general contractor friends, your stock is only going up because you are more and more valuable as there's less of us available. And frankly, if I look at the trends from your decks that I've been reading over the last couple months, it looks to me like we might be flat-ish or maybe even see some slight increases in 2025. But based on all the data out there, 26, 27, 28, it's going to continue to go up. There's plenty of work in the future for us. What were you going to say, Matt?
Yeah, I think similar to, so Todd was just talking about, older Americans and, the tendency to use contractors. We find the same with wealthier Americans, sort of that top 20%. And, when you combine that with all of that home equity kind of dry powder sitting there, Todd's used an interesting analogy of like a beach ball underwater, that once it gets to the point that it's about to come up, it's not gently floating to the top, it's popping out, right? And so we think when obviously tariffs subside, the economy is calmer in general, we do see a significant pop, to your point, Matt, that, double-digit increases post 2025.
Talk about that just for a second, because I feel like this is going to, podcast listeners will listen in 3 weeks. I should tell them that we're about to drop a new forecast. Realistically, with what's happening, in mortgage markets and what's happening in the housing market, we probably are looking at a scenario where new home construction is down at least mid-single digits this year, and home improvement spending down as well. And maybe we're coming into a recession, realistically, by Q3, Q4 this year. We don't know. It's hard to work through these things. What I want to emphasize, though, is like we've seen how this plays out before. We saw this in the the early 1980s when we had a double dip recession. The last time the Fed was fighting inflation, and the amount of home improvement activity that happened then, and the amount of moves we've never seen ever in the history before or since. Think of like growing 30% year on year on year. This is when Home Depot was founded. That's the precedent. So we have more homes now. We have fewer workers per job when that inevitably happens. And, there's some really interesting data from the New York Fed that we look at pretty closely that ask people, this is like one of those like perception questions. How long are you planning on staying in your home? When do you think you're moving? And did you know that the percentage of people that are under 50 years old that are telling us that they're planning on being in their home less than 2 years, that's 2x higher than where it was in 2020?